No, Imran, in fact, it's the complete opposite on this border with Egypt. In fact, there are checkpoints set up, but they are set up by the anti-Gaddafi movement, who by all means have controlled the eastern part of Libya to the west of Egypt. In fact, they have created their own humanitarian corridor to try and bring in medicine and much needed aid, and also have created some sort of communication corridor. So we are frequently approached by people who rush through this border here with material, with pictures, videos and stories of what they say has been going on. Obviously, there is some sort of relative calm that prevails over the eastern parts of Libya since the anti-Gaddafi movement managed to overwhelmingly defeat the pro-Gaddafi forces in the past few days. And therefore, the images that are coming are of so-called atrocities that have taken place 2 or 3 days ago. And there isn't that much fighting as far as we can gather from the reports that are coming through.
It does sound like two different countries, but do go ahead. Do go ahead.
Indeed it is. And interestingly enough, as we look around, this place here, if you remember, over the past couple of days was filled with people streaming in. And today has been the quietest I've seen it in the past 3 days. There are just trickles of people coming through here. Usually it would take me 2 hours to get up to this border because there's always a huge queue of at least 500-600 vehicles, buses, coaches provided by the Egyptian government, as well as private sector companies trying to transport the people coming through. And today it took me roughly 15-20 minutes to get up here, to give you an idea that the stream of people coming through is drastically decreasing.
And what about those who are trying to coordinate sending medical supplies across from Egypt into Libya? How would you quantify the amount of aid that is actually crossing the border?
Well, there are aid convoys that cross roughly every 6 hours or so, and they are all non-governmental organizations and charities that are setting them up. They are not sponsored by any international body or any government. I've spoken to several of them, including the Red Crescent, including the Egyptian Doctors Union and Syndicate, including groups that were set up literally just after February 17th, like, for example, a group called World Medical Center Libya, which has set up camp roughly 250 kilometers away from the border in Marsa Matruh and is sending people. They say they still need much, much more. They say they're only providing a fraction of what is needed in terms of blood, in terms of simple things like stitches and stuff that are needed for operations inside Libya. However, the efficiency in which they are running, I have to say, is commendable, despite the fact that they have no official support. They've managed to create a humanitarian corridor which stretches all the way back to Cairo, where things are dropped off at bases there, and then they're transported through Alexandria to Marsa Matruh, and then from Marsa Matruh across the coastal road here into Libya. And they've managed to create a really efficient mechanism. However, their plea continues, and the plea, they say, is still being largely ignored in favor of meaningless, as they put it, meaningless meetings by the United Nations and other international bodies, which they say can actually rush to the help of these people in Libya much sooner than they have been, Imran.
Interesting that you mention, you say people call them meaningless meetings, because we're going to go to Nick Spicer in a moment. Jamal, thanks for that for the moment. The UN Human Rights Chief has said the Libyan regime has shown callous disregard for its own people. Nick Spicer has been following events for us in Geneva. Nick, Jamal's saying there that people are saying, look, these meaningless meetings are going on, and all this condemnation, we need actual help now. But in fairness to the European Union, the UN and others, it seems as if diplomatically at least, there's a unified stance once and for all.
There's a lot of activity here. The big headline is Libya may be suspended from the Human Rights Council, which is a first. This is the first time that the Human Rights Council here is looking at a sitting member. And more importantly, I think there is movement which is supported by the United States. I spoke with the American ambassador to the Human Rights Council this morning to create an international investigative committee to look into possible violations of human rights in Libya by the Libyan government against its people. And you may say, well, this is just talk, but if you cast your mind back to Bosnia and the war there was the creation of a tribunal, an investigation, which ultimately led to leaders there being put on trial. So they're really trying to get people to line up behind a common position. And it was interesting to hear the ambassador from Pakistan speak on behalf of the Organization of Islamic States. Typically they defend their own members, but he said that Muslims around the world were telling the international community that they would no longer be denied their human rights. So you seem to have the Americans, the Islamic countries on the same wavelength. We're still waiting for other people to speak, so there may be some discord later, but for now, the international community here at Geneva is united in condemnation.
Anybody defending Gaddafi at all?
Not so far, but we'll see what's going on later as more and more people take to the microphone. But the people here are waiting for more diplomatic movement from Brussels, NATO meeting there, where there may be some discussions about creating a no-fly zone. We're also waiting for the American Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, to come here Monday. And it's important to recognize the Americans are coming to this council, which they just rejoined under Barack Obama. They long saw it as anti-American and anti-Israel, but they're trying to be more multilateral in their foreign policy, and particularly as regards the crisis in Libya, and to put forward international human rights law as a justification for their foreign policy. Now, we all know the Americans are the big movers and shakers in that part of the world, but here they're keen to turn to Europe, which has stronger trading ties with Libya, even if America is the stronger military power, and to come up with a united front that will really create pressure insofar as can be done with a government that seems to be falling apart on Libya to bring about change, and most of all, I think, to create the threat of possible prosecution before some kind of international court for the people who are cooperating in those violations of human rights.
Nick Spicer, thanks for that, live from Geneva. Well, Libya's ambassador to Jordan has resigned in protest over the killing of his countryman. Mohammed al-Barghati is the latest of several diplomats and politicians who've stepped down or voiced their opposition to the violent crackdown.
Our great people, at this difficult moment that our nation faces, people are dying in a bloody confrontation. It is unimaginable and unbelievable.
Well, among those diplomats who have pulled away from Gaddafi is Libya's deputy ambassador to the United Nations, Ibrahim Dabbashi. In an interview with AlJazeera, he demanded the UN take a stronger position. Dabbashi also called on the international community to impose a no-fly zone over Libyan cities.
We are very worried and we reject any foreign military intervention in Libya. That's why I came here today to put a call out there. After the events we saw in Zawi today, I address my words directly to my dear two generals, Al-Mahdi al-Arabi and Muhammad al-Isawi, because their role are crucial at this stage. And I say to them that you have proved your courage to us in the past, and you are known for protecting the people from mercenaries and those who kill our people. Your honor and family and military pride does not allow you to go against the will of the people, especially at this historical juncture. A choice has to be made between good and evil. Your brother